Pack your bag, fellas. We are going on a trip, a guilt trip. Yes, this is what Jack Dorsey, the co-founder of Twitter, woke up like on Wednesday and tried to legitimize his actions of banning the Twitter handle of American President Donald Trump by writing a feature-length mumble-jumble thread where he constantly tried to evoke emotions of righteousness to stomp over the fact that he had disparaged the freedom of speech and expression of a state head, once the most powerful person in the world. Defending the decision, Jack wrote, "I do not celebrate or feel pride in our having to ban Donald Trump from Twitter or how we got here. After a clear warning, we had to take this action. We made a decision with the best information we had based on threats to physical safety both on and off Twitter." Was this correct? Dorsey's charade comes at a time when the pressure is mounting on him and his company from all quarters. Firstly, Twitter saw its market value plunge by over 6.4% at the start of the week, which dipped another 2.4% as the sell-off continued into Tuesday's close. The declines saw Twitter's market cap drop by $3.5 billion. It is not a coincidence that Facebook and Twitter, the two largest social media platforms, saw their $51.2 billion in combined market value erased over the last two trading sessions. The market is miffed by the suicidal actions of the social media giants, which have set a dangerous precedent for the future. Big tech has taken up the mantle to create a nanny state where they are the judge, jury, and executioner. And a free capitalistic stock market dreads nothing more than a private player trying to rule with impunity. As reported by TFI, the government of Uganda on Tuesday banned all social media apps and platforms in the country, including Facebook, Twitter, and WhatsApp, citing gross interference of such platforms in the country's democratic process. Twitter put out a passionate statement where, ironically, it put itself in a paradox by saying, "We strongly condemn internet shutdowns. They are hugely harmful, violate basic human rights and the principles of the #open internet." Jack Dorsey and his coterie of Vulcan-level intellectuals should understand that shutting down access to Twitter's vicious bias is not shutting down the internet. And even if it was so, Twitter is not the global protector of democracy. Uganda has effectively become one of the very first countries to come cracking down hard on American big tech entities for their blatant bias, not just in the United States, but across the world. Also reported by TFI, an internet service provider company named Yo T1 Wi-Fi, based in Idaho, USA, banned Facebook and Twitter from its services after the social media platforms unilaterally banned the accounts of American President Donald Trump. Furthermore, Trump has received support from world leaders around the globe even when he is set to leave the White House come January the 20th. German Chancellor Angela Merkel has reservations about the way Donald Trump's Twitter account was suspended. A spokesman said, adding that legislators, not private companies, should decide on any necessary curbs to free expression. In addition to Angela Merkel, UK Prime Minister Boris Johnson's spokesman said private social media companies make their own moderation decisions, but they should be accountable. With all the aforementioned incidents putting additional pressure on Twitter, the company seems to be crumbling. Just because the likes of Twitter and Facebook are private entities, it doesn't mean that they cannot be held accountable. Social media giants have openly admitted that they are not neutral and that the platforms have an inherent left-wing bias. If the platform was not partisan, it could have been plausible to believe in Dorsey's euphemism-laden gibberish for a second. But we do not live in an ideal world, and that is not the case as well. As reported by TFI, Jack Dorsey has openly admitted on the record that conservatives fear to voice their opinion within Twitter itself, as the left-wing employees outnumber them and further dominate them. Quoting Dorsey, "We have a lot of conservative-leaning folks in the company as well, and to be honest, they don't feel safe to express their opinions at the company," Dorsey had said in one of his interviews. Since the incidents at the Capitol Hill last week, the Silicon Sinister Six have come out with their holier-than-thou attitude, where they proclaim themselves as some righteous platforms that believe in the good of the world. However, the truth is that these platforms openly fleeced the popularity and ability of Trump to turn a controversy to their benefit. And when Trump ceased to serve any purpose, platforms like Twitter dumped him like a sack of potatoes, invited outrage and backlash from around the world. However, the heat has started reaching the Twitter headquarters, and one can expect the top brass of Twitter to come up with more such explanations with increased frequency. After all, hogwashing history and opposition's purview through the use of forced rewritten narrative is a trait deeply embedded in the left-leaning cabal, isn't it?